Great.
You are audible, Hari.
Yeah, thank you. Hey, before we get started, I have few housekeeping items I'll go through. First of all, today's event is being recorded. So if you miss any or all of the event, do not worry. We will share the recording in about 24 to 48 hours. Also, we are taking questions from the audience. So during any time in the presentation, please put your questions in the chat room. We will take last 15 to 20 minutes during end of the presentation to go through the question slides. Bharata, can you share your slide? I would like to introduce you Bharata, our speaker today, Bharata Srinivasan. As Associate Director, he is responsible for delivery management, quality assurance, and data engineering. Prior to this appointment, as Associate Vice President at Dun & Bradstreet Technology and Data Services, he was responsible for building 150+ member team in Chennai from ground up. Varda is an expert in quality organization transformation towards lean and agile delivery model. Lately, Varda is exploring pod delivery model and focusing on lean QA. Varda, the next slide, please. For me. As part of STA 2018, Varda published a zero-touch QA automation platform and was awarded the Best of the Best Testing Leadership Award 2018. Recently, I think November. He's a quite frequent speaker and blogger. He has around 150+ articles and testing and test automation. Varda holds a bachelor degree in electrical and electronic engineering and masters from BITS Pilani. So coming back to this topic, today's topic is a lot of times organizations that are in DevOps journey go through a rough weather in QA automation initiatives. With the industry transformation to digital trend, there is always a need for efficient, streamlined, continuous delivery. This webinar would talk about zero-touch QA automation platform. It deals with the solution on integrated DevOps and quality approach. This would consist of artificial intelligence in reporting and data visualization. The complete QA cycle is automated from test design to test closure with continuous monitoring involving no manual intervention. The webinar would also give insights on business benefits outcomes on adopting this approach with streamlined governance. Welcome, Varda, again. Thanks for being here. And now I'm turning back to you right over to start.
Hey, thanks, Hari. Thanks for the introduction. Before I get into the presentation, I just want to kind of, from you all, understand the level of automation maturity in your organization. So you see a link here that will be also available in the WebEx. So I request you all to go over the link and give your voting. Let us take 30 minutes for you to vote, 30 seconds for you to vote, and then we can proceed. So can you all vote now? Hari, do you have that link given to everyone, Hari?
Yes, I have done for everyone in the chat room. Please use the chat room link. Please go and vote. We like to understand your QA automation status. No, as simple as that. Brother, do you like to share the results to your screen?
Yes, I'm sharing it. Let me know once you see my screen. I hope all of you
yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Good. Give them 10 more seconds for people to vote. Good. Let me get into the results of it. So we have 6 votes so far. Let me see where we are. So what I see is that 67% of people said they have, I think we have to say 4 of them said they have all the testing fully manual, and one of them said it is automated, and one of them said it's 70% automated. Okay, but I hope this session is going to be really informative from the audience I see. So let us get into the presentation now. Okay, so now what I've captured here are the top 5 challenges experience I had working in kind of QA automation for quite some time. So now let us get into those problems in detail. Yeah, the first challenge that I see in any organization is that now we have been doing testing as an independent QA organization, and as per business demand, we are adapting agile, right? So when we say we are adapting agile, the first thing that comes to the mind is that we are no longer going to have a 3-month cycle or 6-month cycle. We are going to have a every 3-week cycle, 2-week cycle, or 4-week cycle, right? So I think we have to have much frequent releases, okay? And one of the secret for us to do that, frequent releases, is that we have to get stuff automated. Okay, so we need to have the team with good exposure in automation, right? Or they can do automation. Okay, when you mean automation, right? So again, one of the biggest myths is that when you go into organization and ask them what is your automation strategy, we end up seeing people saying my automation strategy is all about Jenkins and Selenium. Okay. But unfortunately, the problem with that kind of approach is that we are again trying to look things end to end. Okay. Let us take a classic example of, for example, you are testing an Amazon website, or kind of similar to that, where you have changes happening in, for example, in your shopping cart page, right? So now if you go with the end-to-end approach, you end up doing log into the Amazon.com, doing a search, and then adding stuff into your cart, and then checking it out, and then going into payments and doing payment, etc. Right? So you end up doing always end-to-end, though the change could be in the last step of the use case, and it could be a change happening in an API layer somewhere in the behind. We end up doing always end-to-end, and again, going with this approach is not good, being that it's going to take a lot of time for us to execute test case. So coming into agile, we have to go beyond UI test and go into API and data part of testing for us to really run our test faster, right? And when you talk about automation, right, it is not just regression; it's also about progression, right? If you go into sprint 2, whatever is in sprint 1 becomes a regression. So we have to get stuff automated. So when you talk about all these automation, right, so we have to ensure we do it without compromising any product quality, right? And the challenge that we see today, right, is that the team today does not have that kind of exposure, or does not have the experience in automation. So a lot of times what we say to that team is that, guys, let us learn automation and let us also support the current release cycles. So it is like changing your engine as your airplane flies, right? Not always really healthy, and we've seen teams coming back and saying, no, it is really stressful. It is difficult for us to support the current release cycle, and also for us to do automation, and it is not really working, right? So this is a classic problem that we have been seeing. Okay, and the solution, and a high-level solution we could think of, is that go with a layered automation to reduce the cycle time. We have to have a high adoption of automation, and we have to simplify the automation. Okay, these are the high level. This is one of the biggest challenges we have, and this could be possible solution. Okay, so now I'll just go through the challenges to start with, and then I'll give the solution. Okay, and the next challenge that we have is around the life cycle. Okay, so now we have been all part of a QA organization, and we used to have the requirement given in, for example, say in doors or quality center, where we used to have the requirement. We used to create those nice little RTMs, recommend testability matrix, to link our requirement with test case with defects. Okay, and then we create those test cycles, and something fails, we link the etc., etc. We used to do all this wonderful stuff kind of 2-3 years ago. And when we said we go into agile, one thing we did is that we stopped all of them. Right? We said I will have Jira, I will have my story in Jira. I will have an acceptance criteria written in Jira. And there's no point of any documentation, no need for any documentation. We can do everything in Jira itself. Okay, 6 months down the line, 1 year down the line, we end up saying, so we are supposed to test this application. Where are the test cases, right? And something fails, why it fails? We kind of, whatever good practice that we had earlier, we don't have them today due to which we don't have any traceability, we lack documentation. If someone, the team goes away, we lose the know-how, etc., etc. And there are scenarios that you're seeing, for example, in your organization, you need to have something like an ISO audit or any other audit for which you need to maintain those test cases. You have to maintain those test logs. And when you say your team has to do automation, you have to do 3 weeks release cycle, but you still need to maintain these logs. It's again really manual effort. Okay, so no, what we cannot really say is that I don't need any of this, or I need all this, but I need more people. Okay, both of them are not really acceptable. So we really need a solution where we not only automate our test cases, right? We also need to automate our life cycle. That's the real challenge number 2. For me, challenge 2 is, as a tester who have been for many years, I see challenge 2 is more to do with the test life cycle. The challenge number 3 is again a more classic problem in any automation, right? So I think I have gone through this problem myself. Okay, so we have done the automation. Okay, and we ask the team, guys, we will have the regression test suite integrated with the continuous integration, and our test will run every time there is a deployment. Okay, and when there's a failure on the run, it is that we need our tester analyze the failure and categorize them as application defect or automation defect or something like that, right? So we have to analyze the failures. And what we are seeing is that for the initial month or 2, we see the people categorizing them. So I could have a run, 100 test cases running in, 90 passing, 10 failing. I pull the report. It could be an HTML-based report. I'm going to get it in Jenkins. I see the failures, 10 of them. I see 8 of them are application issues. And I go on Jira, raise the defects. I go into say there are 2 other failures are due to automation failures. I again go and raise defects again, automation or testers, right? They raise defect for themselves for them to fix. Okay, so the next day the same thing happens. Application team fixes some of the defects. Now test runs. There are 7 failures. We again go there, analyze them. We see what is the reason for the failure. It could be issue that happened yesterday. It could be the same application defect but not properly fixed, or it could be the same automation defect not properly fixed. We again analyze them. We categorize them, right? And this cycle, right? To be honest, from my personal experience, for initial month or 2, people were doing that manually. After that point of time, people said, no, enough is enough, right? I cannot do this analysis manually, right? So that is the biggest challenge I see from a test automation maintenance perspective. How do we really get the analysis done easier? Okay, and also give the feedback, right? So one other problem that we see is that when we talk about all this analysis, it's not just a QA effort, right? It has to be that when test runs, we need to give the feedback also to developers faster. Okay, so we need to have a better way on how do we analyze the failure, okay, and give the faster feedback. Okay, so this is the classic problem in any automation today, right? The third problem that we see is that, the fourth problem that we see is that in terms of QA, for me, goes beyond just our functional testing. Okay, for example, let me go back to the Amazon.com as an example. Okay, you type in www.amazon.com. What if it takes 2 more seconds for you to load the page? As a user, will you be happy? Right? No, as a user, I am not going to be happy. Okay, this could be that there's a one small change that happens in JavaScript that got checked in today, right? And there's a CI/CD running in, it gets deployed, and if you're going to miss this problem, right, customers are not going to be happy. So it is not only that we certify the application functionally, it's also important that we also certify the application from performance. And one more area that is getting a lot of prominence today is security. I would say 2 years ago it's nice to have, today it's must to have. There is, for example, if you are building any enterprise software today, or for example, be any software today, okay, there are customers are not going to buy a software, or customers are not going to use a software if it is going to be unsecure, right? So we need to have a way where not only we assure the functionality, we also ensure there's no non-functional issues in terms of performance, in terms of security or resiliency, etc., right? That we need to have these part of test also automated. The final thing, right, is again, for me, one of the biggest challenges I see in Agile, right, we really go faster, okay? And that's the intent, right? We want to run faster. But when we run faster, okay, one thing that always kind of concerns me is that, right, am I really testing enough? Did my test ensure every piece of code that is done is tested properly? Second thing I also that concerns me is in terms of, am I really doing right level automation, or am I doing too much automation, or am I doing too much test? Okay, these two things always comes into mind. Okay, so we need to also have a better way or automated way where I have solution towards it, right? I should not miss any part of code. There should not be any piece of code that is untested. Two, there should not be any redundant tests we should have, right? We need to address both this problem. Okay, so these are the top 5 problems that, for me, from my experience, I see we should always address when it comes into automation. One thing I really want to hear from you, right? I want to take a 30 seconds pass, and hear from you in terms of, do you all have any other problem, or whatever problem I explained now, do you also consider these to be important problem from your side? Do you think there are any other problems that gives you sleepless nights that you would like to be addressed? If you have any such problem, I encourage you to type in your problems into the chat window. We will touch upon them in the later part of the session. Let me give 30 seconds for you all. If you have any other problems, you can type them. Thank you. Let me go into the solution part of it. Right, the first problem that we discussed is on how do I get my team, how do I get my existing team? Okay, I have a team who are in the system for last 3, 5, 7, 10 years, and they have been testing manually, and they are my domain experts. Okay, they are good in testing, right? And how do I really get them to automate, right? Or I could even go and make decisions. No, let me completely replace the team. I'm going to get all testing done by developers. I don't want any more testers. I'll get all the tests only automated. I'll get everything done by testers. But that's for me, that is also not working, right? Because that's again a cultural change for test developers. So there has to be a middle path that we have to take where we want to get automated. Okay, but we also want to retain the knowledge. So how do we do that? Okay, that's what the problem is we spoke about, right? So there are multiple solutions. Replace a team with automation testers, or get the developers to do testing, or you can think about buying some sophisticated software which can help you to automate easier, for which you want to pay a lot of money, or you can think about simplifying automation, right? For me, of all the solutions, right, one thing that really helped me, because we tried out various options, one thing that really helped out is, how do I go and simplify automation? Okay, that for me really helped. Okay, when I mean simplify the automation, let me kind of take you through, right? So again, we spoke on this. When it comes to automation, it is not just UI. We should ensure we test the UI part, API part, and the data part, right? We discuss on that. We also said we have to simplify automation. So what do I mean by simplifying automation, right? So if I go into, let me take a tip UI here, right? So what you see in the UI, right, on the left topmost corner, you see an address information form. This form contains 6 controls: a billing street with the text area, billing city with the input box, customer status with the drop down, active account with the checkbox, a date picker, and an edit but delete buttons. These are the 6 controls I have in the screen. Okay, this is a typical, say, SFDC form here. So if you have to automate it, right? How, from an UI automation perspective, what I have to do? I have to use, I should be able to identify each of this element. I can take XPath as an approach. Now, this is not just an XPath. You could use CSS selector, or you could use any other pattern. But here, I take an XPath as an example. What we do is that, now how do we kind of simplify this automation? Is that when you look at this UI, you could have an address information as a form. You could have contact information. You could have any other forms, right? There are many other forms within the same application. If you look at the application, what you will start seeing in the application is that you will see a pattern being followed to build it, right? When I mean pattern, for example, if you look at billing street as an example, what you see in that from this particular billing street, the X path for the billing street will be / label text of label. What is a what I mean label is the billing street is a label. If you replace label with billing street, you will be able to identify this XPath with the generic XPath. So if you have some other street as mailing street or physical street or any other street, right, which is going to have a text area next to it, we can use this generic pattern to identify this particular control in the UI. Okay, similarly, if you take this text box, the pattern that you will see in the UI is this is specific to this particular UI application, but this path is going to be consistent across every page. Okay, the pattern again is going to be / label text. The label is going to be the billing city here, and following / input. This is going to be the generic XPath for this particular control, billing city as a control. Okay, so what the first step we gotta do is understand the application, identify the XPath. Once you identify XPath, you work with your developer, UI developer, right, to ensure whatever XPath that you identified, a generic XPath identified, is consistently followed in every page of this application. Okay, there are scenarios. What you see is we get new developers into the team. They might not follow a consistent pattern in building this app. Okay, when this happens, what we see in testers doing is they go and customize the XPath to satisfy new conditions. The problem with this approach is, right, is that then you go and complicate your automation. Rather, go with the typical agile construct, right? What is important? Collaborate with your developer. Ensure if you see a new page being built which does not follow a consistent pattern, give the feedback to the developer and ensure a consistent pattern is followed from an application perspective. Okay, that is the most important. Collaboration for me is the most important thing for in agile team. Okay, once you review and align on the patterns, then you build a BDD construct. So what you see in the step number 3 is a BDD construct. You identify the patterns, you review and align with the developers, then you go and define a BDD construct. So for example, here, I enter text as so and so. I said 103 John F. Kennedy Parkway. This is going to be the text box to which text area to which I'm going to enter the word 103 John F. Kennedy Parkway into the building street. Building street is the label, okay, and text area is the control. Okay, if there's going to be, assume I have some other text area that has similar patterns, right? So I will say, assume that instead of building street, I'm going to have mailing street. The approach I will say is, then I enter text 103 John F. Kennedy Parkway into mailing street text area. That's it. I need not do any automation here. I'm just abstracting my UI automation using generic path and the BDD construct. Once I do that, right, once I abstract it, I go and publish my automation language to my team, right? So all I do is that given a UI, I identify patterns, I review and I align with the developer, I abstract with the BDD construct, I publish it into my team. Okay, this is all I do. Okay, from now on, the language to automate my UI is not Java, is not Python or Ruby. It's a simple BDD construct. Okay, this is how we could simplify a typical UI automation. And you do that, even a non-technical business owner can even understand what is written into a test. Okay, and next thing is that, right, the same approach we also follow for API automation, right? Identify patterns, review, align with the developers, abstract it, and then publish the language, right? And when you talk about all this, right, we need not do any of the step 1, 2, and 3, and 4. There are frameworks available like Karate. It's a API automation framework which has already done that, because API being API, we already have, okay, we already have a solution available from Karate which has defined all this, right? So for example, if you have to automate an API, I can just follow the similar construct here given below for me to automate it. Okay, so this is how we go and simplify either a UI automation or your API automation. Okay, going to the next challenge is in terms of how do you get your end-to-end lifecycle process automated. So what we talked about is that, right, is that we said when I go into Agile, I am not going to write test cases, right? I said I will not link any of my test cases to my requirements. Or I can say I will write my automation test case. I'll also write test case manually in Zephyr or Jira. I'll link them manually to requirement, right? So either way is not good. So what we worked on is that the suggestion I would have here is that there are plugins available, right, in Jenkins, which we could use effectively to integrate your automation suite plus Jira, right? So all you do is that you can just go and configure those plugins in Jenkins. So whenever your test runs, using your automation test cases in Zephyr or in Jira, test case will get created, test results will get published, defects will be created. Okay, and when you have dashboard, you can see all this automatically in dashboard. So in all this whole life cycle could be fully automated using the right set of plugins. Okay, I have some examples here. For example, what you see in this example is, if you look at the first one, you can create test cases in Jira using this plugin. Okay, you could also create test results, either pass or fail, etc. in Jira. And you can also build dashboard to see what is passed and what is failed, right? And there are options available within the plugin to kind of say if there are duplicate defects, do not log them, etc. There are options available within the plugin. The third solution that I can go into is the automated defect analysis, right? So when it goes into automation defect analysis, okay, the solution I have is there's a product called as reportportal.io. It's an open source solution, okay, which could be easily integrated with Jenkins. Enable, for example, right, when we say it, whenever your test runs in Jenkins, you will have the results published into report portal. Okay, you will have the results immediately available. For example, when a test runs, as a test runs, you will see what passed, what failed. Okay, it will be a real-time integration. Okay, you will have the history of test case. For example, run 1, run 2, run 3, run 4 for a particular test case. If you want to know, it failed now, but it is passed in the previous run, passed in the previous run, passed in the previous run, but failed in the before run, right? You will see all this traceability across multiple runs, and you can also build dashboards. So, and also what you also have in this particular tool is it also has a AI-based solution to do automated analysis, right? So what I mean by automated analysis is that now we can have discussed that, for example, I'm going to have tests where I have 100 test cases running in, 90 of them passing and 10 of them failing. Okay, I look at those 10 test cases. I go and categorize them as 8 as a product defect, 2 of them are automation defects. Okay, I go and categorize them in it has a UI in which I can go and categorize them. Once I do that, the next time the test runs, okay, there are 7 failures now. Okay, of 7 failures, 5 of them are existing failures. And if all the 5 of them are product defects, right, it will automatically analyze based on the history it has learned that those 5 are product defect and remaining 2 could be new defects. It says you have to go and analyze them. Once this happens, right, for the next one, all you have to do is you just need to go and analyze the 2 failures which are new. Okay, the third time test can run. There could be 2 failures, and the 2 failures could be existing failures, and it will be automatically categorized as existing failures. You need not go and analyze them manually. Okay, by this way, all your analysis could be automated, right? So over a period of time, as the system learns, you'll have good repository of whatever test cases, why it failed, and what is the reason behind the failure. And when a similar failure happen next time, this tool will take care of automatically analyzing the failure and dropping an email to the whole team to say that test ran, 100 test cases ran, there are 2 failures, and 2 failures are due to this particular product defect. Okay, let the developers go and fix it, right? So that kind of automated analysis available in this tool. It also has good dashboards which we can use to kind of publish metrics to the management. Okay, the fourth challenge that we had discussed is in terms of how do I get my non-functional part of tests also automated. Okay, towards it is where in a typical project we use tools like JMeter for performance testing. We could use tools like Fortify or Zap Proxy, etc. for security testing. The suggestion is that we have good plugins available in Jenkins, which we could use to configure the publishing of results into either Confluence or into Jira. Okay, which could be again automatically published as your pipeline runs. You're going to have the results published, right? So these are again open source tools which we could leverage effectively for you to kind of have a full life cycle of non-functional part also automated. Okay, the final part is around the last problem that we discussed in terms of quality intelligence. Okay, this is where, for example, I have there's a tool called CLights that this only tool I see in the solution is going to be paid software. All other tools that it's spoken so far are kind of open source tools. Okay, so this is kind of a paid software that we could probably that I recommend, which is going to be one of the very nice tools for us to get insights into what part of the code is tested, what part of the code is not tested, what part of the code is tested too much, right? All these metrics are available in this tool, and this provides you support for Java, .NET, various languages. Okay, and helps you to as your test runs, you can be confident that whatever change that is done is properly tested or not. You get the confidence before you put the code into production. Okay, this is the final tool I would recommend for automated code coverage analysis. Okay, so we looked at the 5 problems, and we kind of look at the solution in detail. Let me kind of take you through into put them together, right? So what we have is that we have a typical pipeline where so look at, we have the story given, we have the story in Jira. Okay, we have the developer doing the development, committing the code. into version control, your CI/CD kicks off, your static code analysis runs, your unit test runs, and then automatically your functional test starts triggering. We could use tools like Karate for your API test, or for UA automation, we use tools like Selenium. Okay, and once the test runs, we are going to have as a part of the test runs, we're going to also update the ALM tool. It could be Jira, Zephyr for test cases, test defects, test log, etc. This could be automatically done using the plugin, and we will have the automation result automatically analyzed using the report portal open source product. Okay, once it is done, as the test runs, we'll also have the security test done using Fortify. Okay, and results being published into Confluence. And as the test runs, for example, in typical project, if you're using a Java project, in JVM, CLET will also run. This results will get automatically published to CLET's portal, where you can go and see what part of code is tested, what part of code is not tested. Okay, so put together, right? These are the 5 different challenges. This is how we can get all this tool integrated and into the pipeline, and we will have all this running in parallel as your build is being done. Okay, and you will have full transparency in terms of your functional, your performance, your security part of test, and also from a code quality intelligence perspective, you also know what is tested, what is not tested, and with complete lifecycle automation. This is what we call the zero-touch automation platform. Okay, so I've come to the end of the presentation. I would like to take questions from you, if at all you have any. Hari, over to you, Hari.
Thanks, Varda. Thanks a lot. And I hope everyone had some very good insight on this. Can you still share the deployment pipeline? People have joined. Please post your questions in the chat room as we can discuss your problems. And I will wait for your questions. So you can use the chat room to post your questions. I think the first question I'll get started was on the part of for existing systems, right? We have a lot of existing brown build systems, right? How can we introduce these concepts of automation to those areas? Because if you see the polling, a lot of people say they are quite manual. How can we start introducing automation, test automations mainly in those systems, Varda? That's the first question I have.
Yep. Hey, Hari, I think this is a classic problem, right? Where I would say majority, more than 80% of the team has this problem, right? So we have a lot of products which are running in production today, and we do quite a good amount of enhancement towards it. Yeah, we are going into agile delivery model for these products which are existing for many years. Okay, this is for me is the most important problem to solve. Okay, if in any greenfield application, a lot of things are easy to do because you can always bring in all this instrumentation very much easier, right? So if when you take into those kinds of systems, right? Yeah, the most important thing for us is to, when we want to get into automation, right? Look at how do I get my automation done faster? When I mean faster, there are 2 things, right? One is how can I get automation done faster? How can I get my automation run faster? These 2 are the problems that we are going to address, right? So yes. These are okay. So for me, any application that is built in the last 5 to 6 years, we have always built with a layered approach. We had a database, we had an API sitting on top of it, we have a UI sitting on top of it. Okay, so it is recommended to go slowly away from, and if you look at the amount of change that really happens between what is a percentage of change given a new enhancement, what percentage gets done in API, what percentage get in UI. We've seen more than 70% of change always happens in the UI layer, sorry, API layer. and 30% of change happens in the UI layer. Very little happens in the database layer. Okay, so with that split up between API and UI, okay, it is recommended to start testing at the API level, and it is much easier to automate an API compared to an UI. That is where, if you look at the tool, like Karate can really help. Okay, where you could easily get your API part of test automated. Okay, and now not only that you are getting your automation done easier, and now you also can get your automation run faster. Both could be easily achieved. Okay, and going into the UA automation, we also seen that even if the application is older, right, built 5 years ago, we have seen a consistent pattern is being followed in an UI application. There'll be some screens where you will not see pattern being followed. That is where you have to work with developers to see if you can bring in consistency in the UI. Okay, but you can again go with the generic expert approach that we discussed here, where you abstract your UI automation with the BDD construct and go and automate it. So we've seen this working in any existing applications which is there for quite some time.
Okay, I think brilliant, Varadha. The next question I have from Abhilash is, which are the different technology stack where we can use the current approach?
But for me, the whatever approach we discussed, either you used it we have used this in 3 different stack, right? Now we have used this approach in a typical Java project, in a .NET project. If you go with .NET, you use SpecFlow. Now even in we have also used in Python. We used a framework called Behave. Okay, so now all we are talking about is abstraction. Okay, when it comes into abstraction for a UI test, now in Python we used a framework called Behave, and in .NET we use SpecFlow, and in Java I use JBehave or Cucumber. Either of them works. So for me, the idea per se or concept per se is really works. Be it what of language you use it.
Okay. I think the key is how you abstract your BDD constructs, and then from there you start working on, because it makes your tester life easier and less to learn.
That's what I call simplification, right? It's about simplification. How do you either if people go and ask DevOps, right, or DevOps or Agile, the fundamental part is this, right? You take a complex piece, you split them into multiple, you go and simplify them and go and do a simple thing multiple times. That is about Agile DevOps. You do a simple thing multiple times. You take a complex build pipeline, you take a complex deployment, you go and split them into multiple, simplify it and do it multiple times. Unless you bring in a simplification, unless you make doing it easier, it is impossible for us to be in Agile. It has to be simple.
Okay. The next question we have is about, can you explain a little more about the C-Lite part? Do you have, can you talk about it a little more?
Yeah, so coming to C-Lites, right? Okay, so now so we have this is the classic problem we have seen happening, right? We have the, as a tester, right? As a tester, I go and write test case of whatever I know is being changed. Okay, I go and write test case for it. Okay, I go and run the test. Okay, things go into production, and we see bugs dropping here and there. Okay, and we go and do a root cause analysis, and later we find that there are some piece of code or some piece of functionality which are implicit, which are not very explicit, which are implicit. Developer has taken them and coded it, but tester is not aware of it. Or developer has changed it, tester is not aware of it. This especially happens in a regression scenario, right? When it comes into regression testing, I want to ensure this functionality is changed. Assume there could be, let me take an example of, say, a login functionality, right? Yeah, and it could be an API that is used by both login functionality and, for example, search functionality. Okay, and what I've done is that, right, I've go and changed the login functionality, that particular API, but it also impact the search functionality. Okay, so when I run my code coverage test, right, yeah, so what it'll say is that a particular piece of code has been changed. Okay, but of whatever it is changed, I've seen that you only executed 50% of test cases, or only 50% of code that is being changed is being tested. When you get the metrics, you go and see why the remaining 50% of code that is changed is not tested. You go into the analysis, right? Then you find that as a tester, you did not have complete understanding of what is being changed. Okay, that is where you start the dialogue with developer. You understand what is the remaining 50% of code which is changed is actually doing. Okay, and you go and ensure you cover those remaining piece of code which is changed but not being tested is also covered in your testing. Okay, when you get that kind of insights into what is changed and what is not tested, you as a tester, you ensure you have the full coverage, and you're also more confident when things goes into production.
Great, Varadha. I think I can have one or two more questions to take forward. How long this took for you? That's a question. No, that's a very interesting question. How long this took for you, to come up with this model?
No, for me, it has been a kind of 18-month journey for me to do this, and pretty much, whatever I've seen, one of the biggest challenge for me I had is that I had the current team doing majority of the work. We did not get anyone new into we did not have too many experts coming in and doing this work. Rather, we looked at, for us to have this sustainable longer run, we need to get the current team to do that. Okay, if we go with an approach where I'm going to get someone external into the team, do for 3 months, 6 months, get them out, it is not sustainable. Okay, having the current team do that, for me, it looks more sustainable. Okay, and that's how it took us quite 18 months for us to do.
Wow. Okay, I think I see a pride in you the way you have done it. Thank you. Do you have any more questions, guys? Before we wind up. Okay, I think it looks like it's a Friday evening, so people are waiting to get out. So I have last request from you all to give us a feedback in the form, the link I provided. Please share your perspective, what you learned or what you like to learn in the upcoming sessions, so that we can create very valuable webinars for you all. Okay. Thanks a lot, and thanks for your time, and have a nice weekend ahead. Thank you. Please post your feedback in the Google Forms which I provided.